Good to go? Okay, thank you, Andrew, and thank you to everybody on the Nest team. I've been extremely excited about this opportunity for, oh gosh, I don't know, a couple months when we started putting this together. And, a couple weeks ago, our good friend Marcy Goodwin, she kicked us off, and she really talked about social media, right? How to get, your posts right, how to use hashtags, all that cool stuff. Last week, Kayla, she talked a lot about how do we position our brand, right? Make sure our brand is, with that consistency, it's clean and makes sense. So tonight, what I want to talk to you about here in the next, 30, 35 minutes is now that you've done that, you've got some attention, with social media, you're consistent with your brand. How do we secure some of those deals and drive revenue? And the key that I want to do is I just want to simplify it because I believe in sales. You need to learn as much about what not to do as what to do. And now that you're in my network, okay, that I've met a lot of you, my goal of this workshop, and Matthew, I think you can attest to this, if you can take away one or two things, that's my goal, that you can put into your business tomorrow. And to take it a step further, if I can help any of you in any way moving forward now that we've met, that is my phone number. That is the only the number that I operate off of. My email is brad@theteamguide.com. If you have questions in the future, reach out and I will help you if I can. So I just want to talk a little bit, or actually back up. I want to tell you just a quick story and then we'll chat about it. So roughly 27 years ago, I started out in this crazy world in the selling profession. And I started out in the automotive world. And there was a father who brought his daughter into the dealership on a Monday. Father and daughter, she's 16 years old. I don't want to leave that out. She's 16 years old, and her father is looking to buy her first car. So they come to the car lot, and I am observing. I did not speak with them. And father says to the salesperson, hey, we were out here over the weekend, and we are interested in learning more about this car. So I'm just listening. The salesperson says, great, I'll be right back. Let me get the keys. Comes back, opens the doors, opens the trunk. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, he's going to really do a great, presentation, do a great walk around. Well, what happened was the salesperson started talking about all the features and benefits of the stereo system. And the radio. And how loud this. And he's like, this is my favorite. This went on for about 2 minutes. And once the father was able to grab his eyeballs of himself and put them back into his head, he said, honey, let's go. So my question to you all, why do you think that happened? Why did they leave? Go ahead.
Because it was about the guy selling rather than the prospective buyer.
100%. It was what was important to him. Now, let me recap this. A father with his 16-year-old daughter.
Safety first.
You think maybe he would have wanted to know. So back then, we're talking years ago, gang, okay, right? Dual airbags were a big deal. ABS, anti-locking brakes. Some of you folks here that are younger, like that's all standard. Well, it wasn't then. That's what the guy cared about. Do you think the 16-year-old, do you think she got the car? Not there. Do you think she did somewhere else? 100%. When they went to a place who asked questions, cared about their needs, I assure you that 16-year-old drove off with the car she wanted. Okay? So here's lesson number 1 in sales. Now this might shock you. It's not about you. I know for some of you that might be hard. And Andrew, if you want me to leave now, that's fine. All right, so just a quick background on myself. As I mentioned, 27 years ago, I got into the sales world. I think it's an unbelievably great profession. You can actually help a lot of people get what they want. Over my career, I've been lucky and fortunate enough to be mentored by people like Dave Curlin, who is an award-winning sales coach. He wrote Baseline Selling. I'll be showing you some of that stuff today. Greg Cleary, founder of Pinnacle Business Guides. He's an unbelievable sales coach and leadership coach. I've done and studied under Jack Daly. I personally have conducted over 600 some training sessions worldwide, mainly in North America. My career, I've been traveled all over U.S. and Canada. I've trained thousands of salespeople. I work closely with sales leaders and leadership teams. And it has been really good, but I will tell you this. Everything I'm going to share with you tonight is learned. It's learned from someone else, all right? Everything I'm going to share with you, I have either tested in the field myself or coached people to execute in the field, okay? The point is, gang, if you invest in yourself and you listen to podcasts, you read, and you get around better people, you can learn the same thing. It's all shared, all right? So just remember, you don't have to figure all this out on your own, okay? Okay, so before we move on to the next slide, how many of you have ever been in a presentation, you've got a crowd like this, you think you're doing good, but it just kind of goes haywire, you lose the crowd, and you're like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Would you mind hitting the next slide, please? Oh, one more. Well, I've had that happen, and a lot of times it's clients like this. Right? You got the smart one, you got the analytical one, you've got the know-it-all, you've got the stump the presenter person, right? You got the not so smart one. You've lost them, and you're like, oh crap, what do I do? All right? Or have you ever been where you think, boy, I'm really making sense. I'm connecting. And next slide, please. The people are looking at you like this. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, this sales stuff isn't for me. What am I going to do? Then you hang up on Zoom, or you hang up your phone, or you get back into the car and you leave the sales call and you feel like this. Oh my God, what am I going to do? This is not for me. If you haven't felt like this, gang, you haven't been in enough sales calls. Yeah. We've all been there. So one of my other goals is now to take you from feeling like this to feeling like this. And the next slide, please, is the superhero, right? A lot of it, guys, it comes with confidence and belief of what you're doing, okay? You get that by practicing. You get that by continuing to invest in yourself. And again, I appreciate you showing up here because you've taken the first step. So now let me ask you this question. When you hear or what people perceive salespeople, what do you think comes to mind? What do most people think? Go ahead, Chase.
A shady car salesman.
Shady car salesman. I'll take no offense to that because I started in the automotive industry. Zero. You go to the next slide. Right there, Chase. Look at that. It's like I heard you. Gang, the perception of selling has drastically changed of what it is and what it isn't. Okay? I still hear people all the time and they think sales is this. They think it is that guy trying to, hey, play, let's make a deal. If I could, would you? All right? So the reason I wanted to show you this is because I want to talk to you about what selling is not. Okay? Not only what selling is not, but then what it is, and then we're going to break it down. Okay? So what selling is not is obviously the perception of this gentleman, who probably is a fine human being back in the 70 car days. But selling, and in your notes, I would love it if you could write this down, or on Zoom, just type it into your notes. All right? Selling isn't telling. Okay, I want to repeat that. Selling isn't telling. That is old selling. Okay? So what I want you to do is you can continue in your notes, I think, again, to build on this. If selling isn't telling, I have a couple phrases, and I teach and coach salespeople all the time on this. Ask, don't tell. Okay? Think of when your best friend calls you for advice. What do we usually do? We start telling, right? We tell them. If any of you have kids and we parent, what do we do a lot of times? We tell them. Do they like that? Do they like to be told? We like it, right, as authority, but they don't. So they don't respond as well. Guess what? Neither do your clients. Okay? Ask, don't tell. Selling isn't telling. Here's another tip, right? Another nugget. Change your statements into questions. Change your statements into questions. Let me give you an example. Matthew, you told me that if you were to switch over to our system, you would save $20,000. Okay? That's a statement. Let's just twist that a little bit. Matthew, if you were to go with our system, annually, roughly, what would your company save?
About $20,000.
See the difference? We got to the same end result. Change your statements into questions. All right? So just keep those for later because we're gonna talk about those. Can you go to the next slide, please? So then now we know that actually I did leave something out. That's what selling is not. Here's what selling is, okay? Before I get into this slide. Selling is the transfer of trust. Selling is the transfer of trust, okay? Put yourself as a consumer. How many of you ever walked into, I don't care if you're buying, furniture or, whatever, appliances, it doesn't matter. And maybe you're a little confused. Maybe you don't really understand the whole thing. And you meet a pro who takes an interest, who really digs deep, who asks you what it is that brought you in. They engage with you, understanding what's the best fit, and you trust that person. Chances are you're going to do what?
Sell the product.
Probably going to purchase because you've already made that decision, right? We as consumers in today's world, we do the research. Okay, I tell salespeople all the time, if you show up to an appointment and you don't have more information from what the client can find online, don't go. Because guess how much value you bring to them? Zero. Zero. All right? Make sense? Everybody with me? Okay. All right, let's just take a look here at this slide. This is old way of selling, okay? Back to the car guy, Chase, that you were pointing out. Old way of selling, 10%. Whoops, can we go back?
Sorry.
Back 2. All right. Old way of selling, 10% establishing trust, which all that tells me is old way was all about the salesperson, right? The radio. Radio's so cool. Guy didn't care. It's for my daughter. Okay, 20% qualifying, 30% selling and presenting, 40% closing. All right, here's an example of 40% closing. In the windows and siding business years ago, it was, here we are sitting at your kitchen table, and I'm trying to hammer you into buying this deal. I'm closing so hard, I'm closing until you kick me out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's old selling. Guys, that doesn't work today. I question if it worked then. Some will say it did, but I don't believe it. However, this is new selling, okay? 40% developing trust. Depending on the client, that number could be a little bit low. 30% defining needs and problems. Again, depending on the client, that could be a little low, but it just gives you the idea of where you need to spend your time. 20% describing features and benefits. I'm going to really get into that because it could be really easy when it is time to do features and benefits. And 10% of closing. Gang, here's another nugget. When you do this right, that 10%, they close themselves. Okay? There are no new tricks and trays, and I coached a team about a year ago. We were in about 6 months in, having our best year, best quarter, blah, blah, blah. Guy raised his hand in one of our meetings and says, when are you going to teach us these tricks on closing? What do you think my response was?
That's what I've been teaching you.
Never.
Oh.
I'm never going to teach you tricks or manipulation or any other stuff, right? But what I am going to show you is how to bring value, how to solve problems, and how to get the client to where they want to go, not where you want to take them. Everybody with me? All right. Okay. So let's take a look here. Next slide, please. I want to read you this because I was given this by a mentor at a sales mastery class a year ago, and talking about what selling isn't and what it is, we'll kind of put a bow on this before we move on. The buyer's layman. Don't waste my time, please go away. I will not talk with you today. You call me up, you want to sell, but all you do is tell, tell, tell. We already learned, right? Selling isn't telling. I do not want to hear your spiel. I do not want to play. Let's make a deal. So listen up, take my advice, discover how you can entice. If you aspire to earn my trust, research is an absolute must. Know my goals, the issues I face. Use this to build your business case. What have you done for firms like me? How have you helped their bottom line? Can you cut my costs or help me grow? That's the information I want to know. Just think of this the next time you phone and you will get past my no entry zone. Once you get your foot in the door, I guarantee you will sell much more. Does that kind of tie in exactly to what we're talking about? I continuously want to send this reminder to everyone on Zoom and everyone here. Okay? Selling isn't telling, and it is not about you. It is not about you. And when you can remove yourself and take your needs away and focus solely on theirs, I promise you, you will see a spike in your business. It takes practice and takes hard work. But do you know anybody who's successful that doesn't work at it? Right? I don't care if it's in the sales arena. I don't care if it's in professional sports. I don't care if it's whatever. It does take work. Here's the good news. It can all be learned. Okay? But you have to make that choice. All right? Next slide, please. So we have talked a lot about who is your ideal client. Last week in here, Kayla talked about it. Marcy's talked about it. So maybe you can't answer that now, but I would like at least there'll be a little homework in this workshop. Who is your ideal client? Okay? It's really important to figure that out because one of the things that I ask leadership teams all the time is this. What should you be saying no to in your business that you're not? Okay? Because, gang, here's what happens. And I'm dealing with a client in Minnesota right now, and I was dealing with one of their teammates. And, of course, I'm early in the relationship, so figuring stuff out. And people are telling me they're blaming this and blaming that, whatever, right? What it all boils down to, if you don't know who your ideal client is, you run the risk of chasing the shiny. If you chase the shiny, you can really get sidetracked, okay? But if you stay disciplined to your ideal client, you know crystal clear who that is, I promise you your sales and your business will grow, okay? So now, what do you sell? What do you sell? It sounds like a really easy question, doesn't it? You would be amazed at how many people cannot really simplify and tell you what they sell. All right, let me put a little bit of a different spin on this and give you an example. I had a client a while back who made and sold custom cabinets for kitchens, okay? I asked them what they sold. What do you sell? We sell custom cabinets and kitchens. And I said, well, can I ask you a question? Right? Ask, don't tell. Where do families gather? And where do they invite their friends? And where are most memories created, especially with weather like this? Where at, gang? In the kitchen. You're selling an experience. Okay? You're selling an experience. Right? Matthew, in our group, at one point I said to Tony, you don't just sell insurance. Okay? You don't just sell life insurance. You protect your loved one's future by protecting assets. That's what you sell. Is it a service or is it an experience? Are you with me on the difference? Okay? Because it's a massive difference from the pros versus the amateurs. So when you get really locked in who my ideal client is and you understand what you sell and you can clearly communicate it, you can go to Marcy. She'll help you with all that fun stuff on how to get that message out. You can go to Kayla. She can help you put a pretty bow around how to brand it. Okay? All right? All right. Let's go to the next slide, please. So now that we know this, gang, there are 4 ways you can grow your business right now and in a bonus. Okay? The 4 ways that you can grow your business is focusing, number 1. It says get new clients. And what I made is I made a typo. It should have said go get more ideal clients. Okay? Whatever that is to you. Go get more clients that are ideal to you. Okay? The second, I think this is massively underrated. Sell more to existing clients. Guys, you already have people you're doing business with that love you. Can we go deeper and wider within the organization? Meaning, do we have another product or service that could benefit them? Am I talking to all the right people? I have a great relationship with Andrew. Hell, I don't even know Matthew. Shame on me. Why don't I have someone who likes me make an email introduction, right? To someone in the operations department or someone in a different area. Stay right there. Sell more to your existing clients. Number 3, keep your clients longer, okay? And I put in here, creating clients for life. Here's another thing that people miss. The sale really starts after the sale, okay? Now you're in my funnel. Now you're in my client engagement program. Now you're in my client experience program. If I can keep Matthew as a client longer and he's completely satisfied, do you think he's going to shop me? He's not. There's a relationship factor in this whole thing too, right? Okay, the last one here, and then I'll give you the bonus, is reactivate inactive clients. And I would ask you on Zoom or even here, make a list. Who have you done business with that you don't do business with anymore? Right? I just had this work for me in late November, early December. I reconnected with a client who I didn't think. I just reached out to, wish him happy holidays and some other things, but just to see and engage. I start with them again on February 15th. Here's the kicker, gang. It was at the same fee and I would have done it for less. Chase, I know. Shoot, this is recorded. All right, here's the bonus tip. Excuse me. Here's the bonus, okay? Those are 4 ways after you know your ideal client and you know what you sell. Strategy, okay? There's 2 parts to strategy and it answers the question how. And the first how everyone usually obsesses about and chases, and they neglect the second strategy. And the first part of strategy is this: how do we get our product in front of our buying public's eye at a price they will pay that we can make a profit consistently? We all do that, correct? Mm-hmm. We all have to do that, okay? That's the first part of strategy. But the second part of strategy is how do we look in our buying public's eye that we become different and bring value so they don't think of us as a commodity. And that is huge, and that's why a lot of people call me to help them. Okay? That is really big because, gang, it's all about differentiating yourself, whether you're an individual, solopreneur, or you are a part of a bigger organization. We don't want to be thought of as a commodity, and it's the same thing in the sales world. Okay? It's better to be respected than liked. And for some of you, that might be, you may say, I don't know, I'm going to challenge the bald guy, which is fine. And the question and answer, go ahead. It's better to be respected than liked, okay? And if you can bring value and you're not thought of as a commodity, you will sell more because you're going to stand out. All right? Everybody with me? Any questions on that? Okay, we can go to the next one. All right, I'm going to get into we're going to get into a couple things on that strategy and differentiating factors. I'm showing you an iceberg, right? Duh. It's an iceberg. Here's how this relates to selling, everyone. When you meet a client, whether they're new or you're just early in the relationship, they are going to basically give you, or what you can see just like an iceberg, is about 10%. Okay? Everything down here on the iceberg, that is our job as sales professionals, as good partners, is I need to find out. Okay? So don't ever assume that they're giving you everything. You really, really have to practice this, and we're going to touch on that. But I want you to remember the iceberg. They show you 10%, but there's so much more. That's our job as providing value, and it's just like a little kid. Ask lots of questions, right? Be curious. Be curious in a good way, all right? And if you can lower resistance when you're speaking with people and not be salesy and be yourself, don't ever act, sound, or look like a salesperson. You lower resistance and have conversations like normal human beings, you will get to that 90% and you will win more business. All right? Okay, let's go to the next slide and let's kind of start to break this down a little bit. So everything you sell, gang, is medicine. So my question to you is, what problems are you solving? What problems are you solving? And I'd like you to write these questions down, whether we do these, you do them tonight, do them tomorrow. I start this out with every new group. Amy and I just went through this. She's launching her business. It was one of the first things we did a week or so ago Saturday. What are the top 3 to 5 issues or problems that you solve for your clients? You need to know that inside and out. Okay? It'll make sense more here in a minute. Okay? And then the second thing, what are the top 3 to 5 things your clients are worried about or they just really don't understand about what it is that you sell? Okay? I have one client and he's a lawyer. And when we broke this down, he was even amazed. He's like, boy, people come to me all the time and they're confused about this, but until I put it on paper, it was really difficult for me to get that out of my head. Okay? So what I want you to do, part of this workshop, again, whether you do that tonight, tomorrow, please answer those questions, okay? Because it's going to help you with what we're going to do next. Everybody good? Everyone have that question? Those couple questions? Okay, we can go on. So I mentioned that everything that I have learned, I've either read or someone has taught me, or yes, I've learned by trial and error. This is something that I've learned, and this is from Donald Miller, who's the author of Build Your Story Brand. Have any of you heard of it? Okay, he's phenomenal. He's got free information out there. The book is Building Your Story Brand. If you haven't read it, I would suggest. He's a great marketer. He's taken 2 or 3 businesses from 0 to over 10 million by email lists. But here's his theory, and I want to back this up, of how we strategy become different and valuable in our buying public's eye, so we're not a commodity. Okay, so here's how this works. I just asked you what the top 3 to 5 issues, problems you solve for your clients, right? You will write those down. So what Donald Miller talks about is develop your one-liner. It's basically an elevator pitch. It is a little more than a one-liner, but it's really powerful, and it is stating the problem, okay? Doesn't matter what space you're in, all of your clients have an issue, right? That's why they come to you. So state the problem. The solution is where you insert your business, okay? And then last, the reward, or how do I make your life easier afterward, all right? Now, let me give you the examples and we'll start to piece this together. Hopefully this will make sense. How many times have you all been at a cookout, a ball game? I heard a couple of you ask my spouse, Amy, tonight, the question of this: what do you do? Right? It's everywhere. So what do you do? Think about that, gang. Here, if I say to you, you asked me that question at a cocktail party, and I say to you, I cut lawns. There's nothing wrong with that. But let's spin that to be different using Donald Miller's story brand. Okay? I'm going to break this down. So, what do you do? You know, Matthew, a lot of people, they don't like to cut their lawns every Saturday. Problem. Okay? Then what we do is we just turn a screw a little bit more to the problem. It takes time away from their weekends and causing them to miss out on family time. Okay? Right there's the problem. We take care of all lawn maintenance, keeping your lawn looking like $1 million. That's the solution, and that's where you insert what your business does. Okay? And then the reward. So you can take back time and spend it how you want. When you get really good at that, and you can really formalize and saying, this is my ideal client, this is what I sell, these are the problems I eliminate for my clients, these are the things that I eliminate that they're confused about. And you can be different when you're standing there at a party and you just don't say, I mean, mine's as boring as anybody's. I'm a business coach. How in the heck many people wake up every day and say, I need a business coach? Let me tell you, not many. So I have to be unique in my delivery and so on. I would like to help you figure out yours. Okay? Because now that's back to that bonus of strategy. I'm different. I'm memorable. And what we want is we want people to say, tell me more. How do you do that? What does that mean? Hey, I'd like to introduce you to my colleague. They are looking for lawn service. Okay? Does that make sense for everybody? I go into every talk, not this one, but most, and I'll be honest with you, if I don't remember exactly what we were doing, I always go back to this. I'm going to state the problem. We're going to come up and deliver the solution, and then we're going to talk about how the reward is so great afterward. Sell outcomes. That's what people want. They come to you with issues. You need to be a trusted partner who can sell outcomes. How do you find out what that is? The 90% of the iceberg. Change your statements to questions. Okay? Again, this is not Brad Betson. This is Donald Miller. I took it right from him. All right? Okay, let's go to the next. So, my sales coach, Dave Curlin, he's out of Boston, award-winning every single year. He's got the greatest assessment tool, objective management group. He is an unbelievable teacher. This is what I've adapted into everything that I do for a sales process. Now, there's more to it, but I'm going to give you tonight the high level. Again, the book is Baseline Selling. You can read it, buy it, audio, whatever. I'm going to just show you how it works in a simple form, okay? So this MCT, Master Coding Technologies, was a business I was a part of out of Minneapolis, and this was our, in a sense, high-level sales process. Now, due to time, I'm not going to go into going from first to home, right? If I've got a list or a client, I have to put them in my CRM and all that good stuff, right? Let's assume you've done that. I'm going to walk you through the bases here and what this means. Everybody's familiar with baseball or softball or a kickball field, okay? So from home to first, all that is this a good use of my time? Here's the question, gang. Is this your ideal client? If it's not, I would ask, why are you going? Mm-hmm. How many times have you taken a meeting or chased a client who was not your ideal client, and then you got in, Matthew, you've had this probably happen all the time, you're like, oh my gosh, I wish to heck, gosh, I never would have gotten involved in this. Probably wasn't your ideal client. So to get to first base from home, right? This is a good use of my time. This client has what we need, or needs what we offer. Okay, that's when we take the meeting. If it doesn't, don't. All right. So now we're at first base. Okay. The way that we get from first base to second base, this is by far the most important. Finding compelling reasons. Finding out what the issues they're having. Having that conversation just like you do every single day in your personal lives and in your business lives. This is not, let's go put my sales hat on and try to be something that I'm not. Okay? Now, I want to warn you about a couple things of what happens when you get good at this. You'll get good at asking questions. You'll get good at understanding their process. You're really good now at finding the decision maker, which is great. You also need to understand the decision-making process. That is critical. You need to understand the decision-making process as much as you need to get in front of the decision maker. Okay? Now, here's what I want to warn you what can happen. And it's happened to all of us, Matthew. You will be in with a client, and they will say something like this. Andrew, if we switch our business over to you, it's going to be great. We are going to give you all the business, and it's going to be worth roughly $200,000 annually to you. You are going to sit there, and you are going to start to think, and your ears are going to go like this. And what we call that happy ears. Because now what you have done is you're emotionally involved in what's in it for you, and you have stopped listening. And then you start to smell, oh my gosh, what is that in the room? Everybody can smell it. What is that awful smell? And you start to speak. And it's like, oh my God, you reek of commission breath. You don't ever want to get happy ears thinking about you and start to speak in commission breath. Your client senses it like that and they're done. You have now lost credibility that you worked so hard to build. Make sense? Okay. That is extremely difficult to do. That takes practice. All right? And we joke about it all the time. Okay? And it could be even in your personal life. You know what I mean? You start to hear somebody like, oh man, this is great and whatever. And I've stopped listening because I'm excited. Happy ears. Yeah, go ahead.
How do you deal with, like, you're like, wow. Like, I remember I was interviewing a potential client and we had a great first session, and then I'm like, oh wow, I've got something that can really help him, and I got way far out in front of myself. So
Yep.
how do you balance knowing that you can really help him, but at the same time realizing that you're not at that point in the relationship?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And again, we've all been in those situations, right? Because we know the answers, we believe we can see the outcome,
Right.
and it's really working on patience. And what I always coach salespeople on in those situations is respond versus react. And I promise you, you will get your turn. We have to continue to quantify. All right? If you were to move forward, you told me that you're investing roughly, that you're losing $40,000. Okay? My next question, before I know I can fix it with whatever, right? How long has that been going on? 3 years. That's when I started. So if I understand you right, quantifying, the amount isn't 40,000. It's 120,000 for 3 years, right? I want to quantify the issue. So at second base, they admit we have a problem. Is this a need to fix or we have to fix? Right? That may have been a good question you could have asked, because I want them to start to see their problem, creating urgency, and you as the resource. Because if you do this right and you guide and you ask, you don't tell, clients will close themselves. Okay? We're not there yet. Let me explain. So now, we didn't get happy ears. We're not speaking in commission breath. We definitely know what their issues are. They have told us. They admitted they have a problem. They committed. They want to fix the problem. We understand their process. We understand their needs. We can now move to third base. Okay? So, when I'm at third base, they're qualified. The only way that I'm going to score is now it's my turn to do my product presentation. What do you think I'm going to do my product presentation on?
They asked for it.
Exactly what they told me. I'm not going to go and show them the radio. Right? They didn't ask. I am going to talk to them about everything that they told me, to your question, everything that I know we can solve. That's what I'm going to present on. Guess what, gang? You might have 7 things or 7 deals in your product portfolio, and they only care about the one that solves their need. Do you need to talk about the over 6? Don't over answer. Don't over answer. How do you do that? It's really being present and active listening. And again, I know I just spew this stuff out like it's super easy. It takes time. And if you practice it and you study, I promise you, you can learn this. Okay? So then it makes it really, really easy. And it makes everything just much simpler. Because it's not about you, it's about them. Okay? At first base, is this a good use of my time? Right? Get them in my funnel. Second base, compelling reasons. That's the conversation. That's where the rubber meets the road. Okay? Third base, present on what's important to them, and that's how I'm going to score. Here's what most salespeople do, gang. They get to first base, and they directly start sprinting across the field. They go right across to the pitcher's mound, and they get right on third base, and then they do what we call product dump. Because they get nervous. They don't know what to do, so they fall back on, I'll present product. And I would say this to you. If you get stuck in this process, always go back to second base. It's okay to go back to second base. You know what? I'm not quite sure I understand. You know, George, could we go back? You mentioned, take notes. You mentioned this.
Right.
The impact is this. I'm having a hard time. You said your system's clunky. Could you just be a little more specific? What does clunky mean to you? Ask really good questions. The only way that you can ask good questions is if you're actively listening. They will tell you. Write it down, right? Don't think it, ink it. And I know a lot of you are like, oh no, I got the best memory ever. That's great. The dullest pencil is always better than the sharpest mind. All right? Okay. I guess I've got to save some time for questions, man. I'll just sit. And I told Amy, I'm like, I'm going to come down here. I'm not going to talk the whole time. Darn it, I'm talking the whole time. So that is, in a sense, what I hope to have shared with you of what not to do, what to do, how can you become different, how can you go out and get clients right now who are in your pipeline, get new, sell to more that you're existing, re-engage with others, be different, don't be commodity. Develop that one-liner, identify your existing or your ideal client, sell what you do is an experience, talk about it in that one-liner that you're different, stick to the basics, good use, compelling reasons, present on what's important to them, write more purchase orders. All right? I'm going to open it up for questions, comments, concerns to the group. Yep.
Could you go into a little bit of detail, or however much you want to, about handling objections? Like, let's say I qualify, I feel like they're a legitimate prospect, but it's still they're throwing me mixed signals, and
Yep.
I don't know what to do.
So based on your question on objections, is there anything else?
I don't have a specific scenario in mind, but it just seems like, you know, sometimes it's like, I know I can help them, but I'm just not sure how to get over the hump. Maybe it's even credibility. Like how do you, like when you're going newly down the road, how do you have credibility? Maybe that's the objection that comes to mind.
Okay. Is there anything else?
I don't think
I'm messing
no,
with you.
No, I appreciate
All right.
that.
Okay, listen.
I hadn't thought about this in a little while. But I appreciate
I'm
that.
basically answering your question, but goofing around.
Yeah.
Isolate it. And that's what I was doing to you right there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to isolate it. Is there anything else other than whatever the and I want to change or suggest we change the word objection to opinion. Right? Here's why. Objections are simply opinions that can be changed.
Okay.
So what we want to do, whatever the objection is, and if it is credibility and it is trust, right? Then we need to get back to asking great questions. Something like this. You know, my sense is, you know, you're not exactly comfortable. Can I ask you, what's the perfect partner look like to you? I'm going to ask them that, right? Tell me about the last time you made a purchase like this. Who did you purchase that from and why? Okay. You see, all I'm trying to do, I got to get back to second base. Mm-hmm. Because if I have unanswered opinions, I don't have the information yet. Is this helping you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It is. I'm thinking like, okay, so you're really good at questions, but let's say they get tired of the 20 questions. Then what do you do?
It's a conversation. I use questions loosely, and thank you for pointing that out. We just have to then have better conversations to get back so I can really figure out what the root cause is. You know, how long have you been considering switching over to a service like this? Why now? Right? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
And if I can get into a conversation, please, and if I, again, thank you for pointing that out. Gang, when I use questions, this is not an interrogation. You have to get really good at, it's a conversation, right? It's no different than when someone goes into an interview to a new company and they're in their own head and they've got mind trash. Gang, it's a conversation. It's no different because you're trying to figure out, right? Are they my ideal client? Can I help them? What is it they need help with? Okay.
Right.
Is that
Yeah.
Does that help you?
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
Chase?
I've got two things. The first one is the questions kind of serve as building competence to the customer.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
ask them questions and repeat back what they answer those questions, showing that you're confident in understanding their problems. And then by doing that, you can start to build empathy with the customer, showing that you care about their problems and that you're confident that you can fix those problems. My problem is when I go in and try to get executive sponsorship, they never have time. They're always like, oh, I'm busy right now, I don't have time for this type of sale. And normally I try to just get the product in front of them and say, hey, you have 2 minutes to show you a quick demo, and then we can decide if we want to proceed with the sale, because I normally qualify my customers before I go see them. I've already have an idea of what they are, what they do, how many employees they have, what type of revenue they're making, and then because I already know they're a potential customer.
Yep.
Now I just need to make sure that I can get in front of them.
Yeah. And what you just said is,
Repeat the question because they probably can't.
Chase is asking, he struggles with getting in front of, for corporate sponsorships, we don't have time, right? Everything you said is accurate on the beforehand. You have to do your research and so on. There's all kinds of different ways and things, and you have to, sometimes it takes a lot of them, right? I still believe in handwritten notes, and I've done my research, right? LinkedIn is easy, okay? We can find out all this other stuff. It's not that hard to find out, if you dig a little bit, who knows? They may be involved in charity work that you're interested in or whatever, and you just made, and all I'm looking to do is, I'd love to simply learn from you about certain things, whatever it is, right? Handwritten note, I personally like video text messages, okay? I know it sounds weird, and believe me, there's no single way to get in front of the I'm too busy. And I'll give you an example. I use it for many different reasons or things. I will send a video text to myself, okay, saying, Andrew, thanks for taking my phone call today. I just wanted you to put a face with a name. I'm looking forward to seeing you next Tuesday night at 6:30, right? Or I could use that in Chase, in your situation, right? Because now is that strategy? Am I being different? Hey, Craig, listen, one of the biggest things I deal with is people who are busy like you, and as well as I am. I'll be brief. When's a good time I could get on your calendar for 5 minutes? I'd love to chat.
There's a software called Vidyard. You can download it on a Chrome browser, and you can be able to just create those quick videos to be able to send. It's called Vidyard.
That's cool.
Yeah.
If you haven't used video for texting, for trying to either follow up or follow through, it's a very powerful.
Big response.
So how come you didn't send me a video text message?
Because we met at Poor Brothers having a drink when Marcy introduced us. I should have. You'll get one later.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
It sounds like what you're saying is to get to the yes. Should we be listening for yeses, or should we be listening for no's? Or how do you deal with that?
Well, when you become better at conversations, you're going to get both, right? So what I want to do is simply find out what the issues are and dig really deep on that. And the only yes that I need to know is, what is the urgency? Do you really want to fix this? Is it a want to have or need to have?
If I may follow up with the next question,
Yep.
A lot of times it's about the cost.
Always.
Right? And so then you
Yep.
put that back into, is this a want versus a need? How do you get the dollar piece, early in the game so that you're not, at third base and then you're like, oh, well, yeah, I can afford it.
Yeah, we shouldn't be at third base if we don't know that. That's a second base question, right? Meaning that we need to quantify, right? The cost, or he'll give you an example of how I used to handle this. I was in the coatings world for years. We sold the highest priced coating out there that protected walls and blah, blah, blah over, other paints that you repainted all the time, okay? I would get into basically tell me your process as far as, the heavily traveled areas, how are you handling those? Well, we're repainting them all the time. When you say all the time, what does that mean? Well, it's 3 times a year. How many square feet roughly is that? That's 50,000 square feet. On average, what does that cost per repaint? Oh, it's $25,000 per. And all I'm doing is quantifying, because then I will come back and say, right, if we could eliminate 2 of those paints or all 3, what would you do with that extra revenue? How would you distribute that throughout your organization? Because you told me you're short on staff. You told me budgets are tight. Guys, price is everything. Meaning, it's not everything, but everyone's always going to lean back on your price is too high. So if I can quantify that at second base, and I then say, listen, they're repainting 3 times a year, that's $75,000. And our product or service is going to cost them a one-time $25,000. And I can help them get to that point of, we are spending annually $75,000. To eliminate this problem, would you guys be willing to save that money to spend the 25? You with me? I'm never at third base if they can't afford it.
Right.
Because I didn't do my job at second base. I moved too quickly through the process. Okay? That's where I'm saying, like, all right, when I continue to refer to Dave Curlin, this assessment tool, they've assessed over 1 million salespeople. Okay? And their findings, this is not Brad's findings, 76% of salespeople suck.
Yep.
76. Okay? So of the 24% who are A players, 8% are elite. They do this stuff really well. Gang, we can't find out at the 11th hour they can't afford it. If so, we skipped a step or we missed a step somewhere. Okay? Does that answer your question? Quantify, quantify, quantify. Here's another, let me see, Keenan, the guy, he's a big skier out of Denver, wrote Gap Selling. The guy's phenomenal. He talks about this, and I believe it. He says, and I'll use this at second base. These are his words, not mine. Probing questions, info on the company, right? Process questions, understanding that why. Provoking questions, challenge the buyer to consider the outcome and impact. And the last thing he talks about is validation questions. Don't accept open-ended questions. He is saying, and again, I believe him, closed-ended. If I understand you right, you're losing $10 million a year and you're at risk of being out of compliance. That's a yes or no. Okay? If they say yes, they're going to find the money to fix it. And if I do my job, I would even take it a step further. You're $10 million out of compliance. If you are out of compliance for 1 month, what is the loss of revenue? Quantify, quantify, quantify. Guess what happens when I get really good at quantifying? I don't discount a damn thing. I don't need to, because I've sold the value of what I'm saving and how I'm helping you. I've even got you thinking about what's the impact of this. Andrew, how would you look to everyone else at the Nest if you were the one that was behind this solution? And you're like, they would love it. He's going to take us on trips. What could you do with that money? All those things, right? Gang, people buy on emotion. Then later they just justify through logic. Go ahead.
I was gonna say,
How do you handle the person who wants all the options? They've explained to you exactly which option works best for them, and you've got that option in front of you, but they want everything. How do you narrow them down without giving them everything that you know is not going to work for them and only confuse them?
Well, I guess I would say based on, and you know what they want. They want everything, right? Give me the car with everything, but I want half of the budget, or half.
Yeah,
I can only afford
like
half
that.
or whatever.
Yeah.
The short answer is that offer them half the car. I'm teasing.
But do you not go beyond what they can afford, or like?
Well, I would just say, you know what? Can we list this out? Can we just make a list, because I want to make sure we fully understand What are your must-haves?
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay? Let's go through your must-haves and what are the benefits of the must-haves? What do those do for you? Let's list out the want-to-haves. Let's go through those. Based on what you want fully loaded, this is roughly what it would be, and this would be the cost of what it would eliminate. Based on the knowledge that you have, how would you like to move forward? Listen, gang,
Good line.
why do you have to figure it all out? Remember early in our talk, ask, don't tell.
I want to go back to what you said about, I think, the last guy in Denver.
Yeah, Keenan.
You talked about something about being qualifying from the perspective of like making sure that they're actually your customer, because there are people that look like your customer that aren't actually your customer. So do you actually do the reverse in terms of like asking sort of negative oriented questions so that they're like, for example, today I asked a question of like, so why are you coming to us?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, why did you agree to meet with me today? You know, we spoke 6 months ago. Why now?
Mhm.
You have the right. You've earned the right to ask that, gang. Listen, with tone and pace, if you have good tone and pace and delivery, you can ask anything. I mean, if I just say, "Oh my God, man, you that shirt you got on tonight? Oh, where the heck did you get that?" Right? Depending on my delivery. You with me? I really like your shirt. He's my buddy. He's my buddy sitting right here, so I'm
It's
using him
all
as an
right.
example.
It's all right.
You can say anything if your tone and pace is good,
True.
right? So you have earned the right to ask that question. So what Keenan, I mean, he's a big fan, challenger buyer in a good way, very respectful. Listen, we are not doing window siding stuff trying to get thrown out. Okay, right? We live in an all review world.
Mhm.
Okay, so we want the reviews. If you're gonna have 50, sure, you might have a couple not so good. Let's make sure we have 48 that are good. Okay, but you can, and I do believe you have to ask tough questions, and it's okay as long as your tone and pace is good, right? You know, we met 6 months ago. We went through this. We got to the 11th hour, and you guys backed out. What's changed? That is such a powerful question. What's changed?
Mhm.
Right? You hear this all the time on. You look at a person that does interviews, right, on the news or whatever. They are so stinking good at conversations and how they ask questions. Now, most of the guests on all they have an agenda that they're going to say this. They don't answer them, but they're really good. And you hear this all the time, and you should be able to ask a client what's changed, right? And back to your point, just because this is a Keenan thing, just because your client budgeted $50,000 and the service is 80, it doesn't mean you have to give them a $30,000 discount because they didn't budget.
So, in my particular area, so when I'm doing custom design, one of the things that I do run into is, so there's an architectural feature to it.
Sure,
Like, so.
of course there is.
This is going to look good, this is going to work, but, the butterfly shaped diamond off to the left side of the ring is not going to look great. Like, so one of the things that I do find difficulty is like reining that in and being like, yeah, no, that's a great idea, but this is going to give you a more aesthetic look right here. But sometimes they're like, but I really want to see the butterfly off to the right hand side of the ring.
They want you to
But
mock that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they see the butterfly off, and then you're like, okay, like I'll humor you this one time, but it keeps going. Like, so to like narrow it down and be without telling. Like I will say, like I had a recent client where I did get into the selling mode. I closed the sale, so I mean it went okay.
Sure.
And the rings
That will
turned out
happen.
great.
Absolutely.
But to get more, there was still a portion of it where I think she kind of maybe felt uneasy, and overall I want there to be that satisfaction feeling and not like feeling like they're being pushed into it at the end of
Right.
it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would ask you a couple things. What are some of your, as a designer, what are some of your differentiating factors?
I would say the experience for sure. So I'm there to walk them through the experience to figure out what exactly is perfect for them through the process. So it's not about me. It's not about my designs. It's about the individual or the couple and what is meaningful to them.
Okay. So people, do they pay you hopefully a how, you know, when you're, I'm assuming in interior design, it's billable hours.
Actually, well, jewelry design. So it's
Okay.
not actually. It's based on. It's kind of a project breakdown.
Okay.
So it's based on CAD and then also casting of the piece and supplies.
All right. Do you have a good, better, and best pricing program?
I do not. I do not at this stage in the game.
Let me just play as we're playing this out, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'm hoping to help you. I don't know if it
Yeah.
will. So we have the client who wants, you know, the design that's going to take up way more of your time, right? And now it's like, okay,
It's not gonna look
I would ask you a
good.
couple. I mean, I could go on and on about this. The first thing I would say is, are they your ideal client? You have to determine that. So I really like the good, better, and best scenario for many businesses, and I always suggest start with best, and then come down to good, or you know, the best. Just reverse it, okay? And then I simply would ask,
Okay.
based on what I've shown you, where would you like to? What would fit your needs the best?
Okay, so like with an options person, to start with some options, but you're giving
Don't-
them the
Don't give them the whole
options.
paint fan deck. There's
Okay.
too many colors,
Okay,
right?
yeah,
Here are 3 tones of gray.
yeah. Which one do you like best?
Love it. That is beautiful.
Okay,
Go with that one.
okay.
When you have
Okay.
people who are big visionaries and big dreamers and so
Yeah.
on that don't really, you know what I mean, they're just really, it is where, am I on to what your client is? Okay.
Yeah.
That kind of helps in your delivery and how you set that up. In how we work with you, what usually works best is we have 3 different packages. And again, based on your needs, let's figure out, because my goal is to make this experience the best and deliver on what you want. Based on these 3,
Mhm.
where would you like to start?
Okay, that's really good. So,
Hopefully they'll pinpoint
okay,
whichever one. And then let's say they don't. They stay in the middle or the low or the good. And they get off and saying, okay, we're getting into best.
so I need to make sure that when I'm branding and marketing myself, to not maybe necessarily do you can do whatever you want.
Stop that.
Okay.
When we are everything to everyone, we are nothing to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm please don't take that. I'm not trying to be a,
No, that's
okay.
good.
but it is so true. And it can, I would highly recommend spend some time on who is your ideal client.
Okay.
Because if not, and you start chasing but it's a great opportunity. I have a client right now, and they do a service, and we have a this is where you live within 65 miles.
Mhm.
But if this one is 100 miles away, we could don't go. We know our truck. We lose money. You know, don't chase the shiny. Figure out who your ideal client is. Okay.
I was gonna say, kind of sounded like you answered this question before, but 2-part question. How much do you alter your price if you've got some flexibility? Sound like you're like, I don't compromise my price. Let's say, or there's probably a better way for that, but I don't alter my price. And then the second question that goes along with that is, how much do you follow up with the potential client if it's like, wow, you're close, but it didn't happen this time?
You know, that I guess depends on you and your model. When I say, look, the price is the price, I do believe that. And I like to work with clients who are by far the highest priced in their space. Because I believe this, gang. Never quote price until you've established value. Okay? If you get people who call you up and they're only wanting to shop your design services or shop you for price, I'm going to tell you this. People who come to you on price will leave you on price.
Mhm.
If you want to save yourself a lot of frustration, I'm going to guarantee you that those aren't your ideal clients. So let's say you are close, okay, and you want to do this. I would ask you a couple things. Could we then talk to them about other services? Could we get them into a subscription model, right? And if you think, hey, listen, it's a $5,000 service and they're at 4,400, and you really want the client and you're making your margin, you're comfortable with that. That's up to you. That's up to you. With the boundaries of, I will definitely do this for this deal. I want to do business with you. I believe is a powerful word.
Yeah.
That we could do some great things. Because here's the thing: if you really do believe that, and money is that tight, I'm going to tell you, if you get them in the funnel and keep them as a client for life, you're going to make that $600-700 or $1,000 up in no time, over the life of the client.
Right. Thank you.
Nate has a question.
No.
Well, this has been great. We'll
Go
see you all
ahead.
later. Love it. Brad, awesome. Thank you so much for doing this this presentation. You were talking about the good, better, and best pricing. Is that kind of relative to tiered pricing? Is that what you're referring to?
Sure. Yes. And
Okay.
and or products and service.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. So in that scenario, I think, and I don't, if you don't mind reminding me who had asked the question, but she was asking about, I have a customer that kept on coming back and then would keep on coming back with, can you do this? Can you do this? Right. Kind of relating that to a scenario that we had in the home care industry, where it was very frequent, where we're matching personalities with the client. So oftentimes we'd walk into a care consultation or a sales call, if you will, and the family would say, well, can we interview each caregiver that you send out here? Well, obviously that's a cumbersome process, costly, and it would require that we pay the caregiver to go out there each time for an hour interview, whatever it may be. Ultimately, what we learned over time is that the more confident we present ourselves in terms of the quality of individual that we are employing, the better off we are in promoting to the families we were meeting with that, hey, trust us, we know what we're doing, we're the experts in this field, we've been doing this for a long time, and if there are any challenges that you have with it, we can address that afterward. But we believe very much in our ability to match your mother with the right caregiver, and so that worked out very, very well. Every now and then you'd run into a client who was just absolutely adamant that they interview each one of the caregivers, and we told them that's not how we do business. And I'm sorry if that's if that's not something you're interested, if you're not willing to work with us in this regard, obviously in a much more diplomatic way. So we would leave that up to them. It's like, look, you can follow our process, but we certainly respect yours, and we encourage you to go out there and look for an agency that will do that. Shocker, there were no agencies that would do that. But I think that played quite well. We learned that over time, that the less we were offering this like unlimited scenario or unlimited services, which is essentially what that is. When you walk in and you say, hey, we'll do anything and everything for your business, then you have pretty much set up unlimited expectations, and you set yourself up for failure too. So that played a lot into that as well, is to just be confident in who you are, the service you're providing, the quality of work that you do, and leave that up to them. You can still customize what they're looking for, but they're coming to you for your expertise and your art. So be confident about that.
Great information. That's back to, again, in the beginning, we talked about selling is the transfer of trust. That's a great example right there. You're trusting your process. You're not trying to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
Guys, you know what? No is a very powerful word in the English language. And it's okay.
So I want to come back to what I asked before. If you say no is a very powerful word, should we be making sure that they say no more often than yes?
I really don't know the answer to that. I think depends on the conversation. There's the saying, right? You have to have so many no's to get, no, right? Yes is in the land answer of no. and it's like the more times I go fail, I'm going to go stumble across a win, right? But based on the conversation, because a lot of times people want them saying yes. I just wanted to know what's most important to them. And if the conversation goes and I've asked them and they say no, okay, great.
Marcy says, I get more clients the more I say no.
You know what? Well, and this is really probably kind of to, you know, Nate, what you were saying. When you know who your ideal client is, you know what you sell, and you know the value you bring, you are okay with saying no. And guess what? People then become attracted to you,
That's good.
right? It's like raising your price. Guys, you can raise price right now if you exceed the value delivered.
Well, it's the confidence too that you present it with.
Yeah.
When you say no, you understand you're going to get the next customer, the next something. You know, when I tell a customer no, or I can't do this, or I understand this or that, it really just, it's not going to be good for the customer. I tell them that.
Yep.
I tell them that there's another solution for them that's better. They trust you more. And I have customers come back. I know you said I don't need the product, or I know you said I didn't need this, but like, I trust you. Let's go ahead and do business together. And it's just one of those things that you know what you have and you're presenting to them, and it is a powerful thing.
Well, and you think about it, and I know this happened to many of us in the room, and I has myself. Someone else says, you know, no, we're going to go with another option. And 6 months later, they come back to you because it was oversold or they didn't the relationship,
Yep.
and you told them no.
Mm-hmm.
We can't deliver that to you. That to Nate's point, we are not going to let, you know, send 4 of our people in here. It's not how we do things. We come in. This is a process, and we believe that we can get this done. If you don't believe that, that's okay. We wish you luck.
So I have a follow-up question. And first of all, Marcy says it's all like what Matthew said. It's all about boundaries and confidence. You attract easier to work with clients.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've also done is the reverse, which is I've actually triple and quadruple my hourly rate
Yes,
so that I actually drive people away.
Yeah.
that's a great one.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that some will pay it though.
Yeah.
You know, in the contractor world, we used to say to them, they'd say, look, this is the we don't want to do it price.
Yeah.
This is we don't want to do this bid. Okay. Boy, though, if they go for it, it'll be great. And it's amazing. Sometimes they do. I would tell each and every one of you, whether, you know, I mean, it's hourly, session fee, whatever. If you have the ability, raise your price.
PIA rate.
Raise your price.
But I feel like if you raise your price, you need to like feel internally it's not like enough, but it's comfortable for you. Because like for example, my mom. So like she is a therapist. So like she has a lot of experience, a lot of like she's an amazing coach and therapist. But internally she doesn't feel like she's gonna raise the price, and that's why like not enough confidence. So clients don't attract that much, you know. So I feel like if you raise your price, but I feel like there's still like clients feel that, you know, if you're not confident about your price, so you're gonna raise it like to, I don't know, $100 a session, but you feel like you're not like good enough. I feel like they're gonna feel it. I don't know, maybe not the first session, but then other sessions. So
Yeah, you dictate your value.
Yep.
And when you're confident enough to say I'm worth this, you will attract those types of clients.
I feel like it's a mindset, honestly.
It's a total mindset.
Starts with-
Here's and this is, you bring up a great point, and it is mindset. Okay, and I say this a lot. Amy and our trash comes on Thursdays. So mentally, I just say, look, okay, Brad, take the trash out. I got to get rid of the mind trash. And we all have it. Mind clutter, mind trash, right? Whatever you want. Self-limiting beliefs. Salespeople suffer so bad from self-limiting beliefs. I'm not going to make that call. It's Friday afternoon. They're probably in vacation mode. Pick up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know that, right? Let them tell you they're in the weekend mode. Guess when the best day to make calls is? Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Why? People are lower resistance. They're ready to get,
Same
they'll
about
talk
the
to you.
weekend,
Yeah. Here's what people won't do though. They won't do that because in they're in vacation mode. already.
Have you heard of this one? Have you heard the acronym FEAR?
Procrastinating work.
Yeah, do you know the
False evidence appearing real.
Yeah. It's true, I mean, I just believe, especially in everything, Nike says it best, right? Just do it. And I know, again, that's totally correct. Again, everything I've taken from someone else. Take action. You will learn a ton, right? But I want to make sure I stress this. Practice. Don't go practice on your clients. It's too expensive.
So where do you practice then?
You make fun of me. What do I do at home? Do I talk to myself?
Sometimes I walk in his office and he's doing his thing. I'm like,
I might be up on the whiteboard. I'm practicing. Okay. I ran through this presentation several times, right? I have a session tomorrow morning with a client, right? I've already done my practice and so on. You have to practice. There are tools that I teach. I practice those tools because it's way too expensive for me to come out and practice on clients. Now you still you still have to do that. But again, if you're a golfer, you're hitting thousands of shots after the round, right? Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, right? They had the same, not just Phil Jackson, their coach, they had other coaches. Some of them had mind coaches and so on, they practiced. Sales or whatever it is that you do, I promise you, if you practice, you will execute much better in the game, right? And that practice could be reading, practice could be listening to podcasts, practice could be, I coach salespeople all the time. I want you to present and start to have the conversations and record yourself. Play it back. Would you want to talk to yourself? And gang, it's hard to do. I remember when we used to do video at Minnesota, and I would always sway and do these silly things. I look like a bouncer at some club, like walking like, oh, something's going to happen. I'm like, oh my God, you look awful. I had to, but if I would have never known, everyone would have just been like, I don't even know what he's saying. He's so goofy up there, right? Practice. So, Chase?
Is getting no a good way to get them off their toes so much because they feel like they're in control of the conversation?
Yes, in certain situations, right? I think that, and I've used this many times. There was a client that I used to deal with out of Chicago that they were giving us the runaround. And what my whole strategy was, and I worked this with Dave Curlin, again, world-renowned sales coach, he suggested to me go in and put him on the defensive right away. And I walked in and I said, Gary, my sense is you don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. No, that's not it. Then what is it? We got in a conversation. I was at second base. So to your point, I went in and put him on the defensive to get a no. Instead of going in and talking about the Bear game and and blah, 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 that he's a Bears season ticket holder. Gang, there's a difference between smart talk and small talk. Okay? Ball games and weather and all that, that's small talk. Okay? We want to use smart talk.
Another question is, when you're cold calling, is the strategy of, is this a good time to talk? Just as an opener to see if they're available to talk or not? Is that a good strategy, or is that one that's, it comes by press bosses, never put the difference? And it works for some situations, but others, what's your recommendation on usage?
I usually, in cold, if I'm doing in cold outreach and I connect with someone, it's a couple different things is, Chase, this is Brad. Doesn't sound like you know who I am. Problem solution, how life is better. Listen, I'll be brief. I don't have much time. I'm important. Also. Right? I don't compete because pros don't compete. Amateurs compete. Pros create. Okay? And I could get in here and read you guys, I know we're short on time. I could read you all kinds of things on what happens with the highly successful sellers. And the first thing I have in my book, and I've taken this from, pros don't compete, right? Pros don't discount. They call that, they call that gifting. I don't even like that word. They call it gifting, right? They establish value, quantify it of the issue that you are spending all of this and I'm only asking for this. I have a question. Why would I discount that? Right? You have to be you. All right? What works for Brad might not work for, Andrew or Matthew, Amy, or whoever. You will gain confidence when you stack wins, when you believe, when you know your value, you know your worth, and treat people nicely, right? Treat them the way they want to be treated, not the way you want to be treated. That's old, right? We all know attention spans in today's world are very short. Strategy. How do you become different in your buying public's eye that you're not a commodity, right? Video, text, voice, videos, differentiating factors. That was why I asked you a little bit too about make sure that you have differentiating factors, right? Because a lot of times people will go in, and I hope not, again, stepping on toes, and they'll go in, they'll start to talk about, well, we've been in business for 28 years, and we started this. Guys, no one cares. I'm sorry, nobody cares. When you go in to purchase something and you're dealing with a sales pro, what is it that you are thinking, or what question do you want answered?
Can they fix my problem?
That it's exactly. Can you help me? That's all people care about. Your job is to figure out how to help them. All right, and if you can practice that, learn that, and really put your own ego aside, lower resistance. How can I help you? You will win more business. I promise you.
So, do you recommend it's the why you do it, how you do it, and what you do, or more of what you do, how you do it, and why you do it?
I believe in the Simon Sinek deal, the why. And I also, it's just like right now you see so many companies that are hiring and people who are leaving jobs who want to go to others. They want to be aligned with companies who share the same vision and values. That if they align, if they don't want to work there, right? And that's kind of, again, back to your ideal client. People are attracted to why, purpose, why you do something. Remember my saying, what do you sell? And it's not just, I sell cabinets. I help people like Andrew create memories with friends and family at a place they gather. We just happen to do that by making custom cabinets that go in the kitchen.
I was gonna say, you sell time. That's the thing. You're the biggest objection that people have for you, I feel like, is time. I don't have time to listen. But based on your pitch, you solve the problem of time. You, within 10 clicks, I think you said, or something like that, I can get you a count on the products that you have. What if I could add 10 hours a week or whatever to each of your estimators? How many more projects can you do? So you want to flip that. That's the biggest objective that you're going to have. Just flip that and say, what if I told you each of your estimators I could give you 10 hours of more productive work? They'll probably listen at that point. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
Yeah, what would you have them do?
Right,
What would be the revenue? What would be the impact?
exactly.
Right, just take that. So.
Speaking of time, we're out of time.
Oh, shoot! We were just getting going.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, everyone.
Good job, Brian.
Thanks, buddy.